Welcome to this episode of The Story. Subscribe as soon as possible. Chapter 20, The Star Coordinates in the Trojan Horse's Belly. Cassandra had been hiding in the olive grove on the outskirts of Sparta for 3 days. At night, the sound of wild dogs gnawing on the priests' corpses came, like a rough grinding noise, always making her think of the gears revealed when Athena's silver armor cracked. She sharpened a branch with the harpist's bronze dagger and made small cuts on her palm. Pain could keep her memory clear, a survival rule her mother had taught her. When the seventh dusk fell, she finally saw the cooking smoke. It was a pottery workshop built on the hillside. The red light of the kill fire seeped through the gaps in the pottery jars, forming irregular light spots in the twilight. Cassandra clutched the pottery shard hidden in her clothes. The star chart mark on her palm was getting hot, a sign that she was approaching the truth. The workshop owner was a lame old man. 3 fingers were missing from his left hand, and there were dark red scars at the stumps. From Troy? He didn't look up as he added firewood to the furnace. Sparks splashed onto his rough arm, but he didn't even blink. A Phoenician olive oil seller said last month that your city walls were more brittle than memories. Cassandra pressed her thumb against the edge of the pottery shard, the sharp corner digging into her flesh. "I'm looking for a wooden horse." She stared at the old man's reaction, noticing that his movement of adding firewood to the furnace paused for half a second. Taller than a warship, with a mane braided from bronze wire. The old man suddenly laughed. His laughter was like smoked leather rubbing. After the Greeks won the war, they piled up the spoils in front of the temple of Zeus. The wooden horse? It was probably taken apart and used as firewood to roast mutton for those celebrating soldiers. He turned and took out a newly fired amphora from the kiln. The pattern of the walls of Troy on the amphora was crooked, and a strange symbol was engraved at the city gate, exactly the same as a corner of the star chart on Cassandra's pottery shard. What does this symbol mean? She pointed to the pottery jar and asked. The old man's eyes dimmed. He rubbed the edge of the symbol with his stumps. Just a craftsman's mark. Just like you Trojans, don't you also like to carve owls on arrowheads? He suddenly lowered his voice. But a man in a white robe came last week, saying he wanted to take away all the pottery with this symbol. He offered a price that could buy 3 workshops. A chill ran down Cassandra's neck. She thought of the eye-shaped symbols in the canyon and Athena's rotating star chart pupils. These symbols were echoing each other, like the neural network of some huge creature. Did you give the pottery to them? Burned it, the old man spat into the furnace. Sparks shot up suddenly. My father was a shipbuilder. He said some wood would rather rot at the bottom of the sea than sail with lies. He lifted a coarse cloth in the corner of the workshop, revealing a narrow ladder leading underground. Go down. Don't touch the wine barrel at the very back. It's for the ferrymen of the Styx. The cellar was filled with the smell of pine resin and mildew. 12 torches burned in the grooves on the rock wall, illuminating the huge silhouette standing against the wall. The belly of the wooden horse was facing the entrance, and a large hole was chiseled in the tailbone, like a silent eye. Cassandra's breath suddenly caught. The pottery shard in her palm was burning hot, and the searing pain of the star chart mark spread along her blood vessels, as if there was a fire burning in her chest. When she crawled into the belly, she heard the wood groan with age. The crossbeams inside were engraved with cuneiform characters, and some fabric fragments were stuck in the gaps. The blue-purple dye glistened with a metallic sheen in the torchlight. This was Tyrian purple, exclusive to the Trojan royal family and only the priests could wear. Cassandra stroked the characters. When her fingertip touched a sunken part, the wood suddenly made a soft click. The moment the hidden compartment sprang open, the light of the memory crystal poured out from it. It was a complete diamond-shaped crystal, much larger than the fragment she had found in the ruins of Troy. Countless tiny light spots were suspended inside, like star clusters sealed in ice. Cassandra was just about to reach out to take it when the crystal suddenly projected an image. In the circular hall of Atlantis, people in white robes embedded a similar crystal into a huge star chart instrument, and then the ground cracked open, and seawater rushed in with screams. Don't touch it. The old man's roar came from the entrance of the cellar. Cassandra suddenly turned her head and saw 3 men in white robes pointing their spears at the old man's back. His lame knee was on the ground, and blood from his stumps dripped onto the stone steps, like a string of broken red beads. Container No. 37. The leading priest took off his hood, revealing a mechanical jaw similar to Athena's. Did you think you could escape the tracking of the star chart? The blood of every container contains a positioning beacon. His scepter pointed at the crystal. Hand over the memory core, and we can let you keep the memories of the Trojan princess and spend the rest of your life in a virtual fantasy. Cassandra's hand stopped above the crystal. She thought of her mother's eyes before she died. The word wooden horse the harpist had spat out at the end, and those who had awakened and then died in the canyon. A virtual fantasy? It was just another more elaborate golden cage. She grabbed the crystal, the edges cutting deeper wounds in her palm, and blood beads dripped onto the crystal surface. The suspended light spots suddenly trembled violently. It seems you've chosen the hardest way. The top of the priest's scepter lit up with green light. Remember your younger brother? That little guy who always stole your armor. We've preserved his memories in the incubation chamber. As long as you. Cassandra suddenly smashed the crystal against the crossbeam of the wooden horse. The moment the memory core shattered, countless images gushed out. Atlantis scientists putting babies into incubation chambers, Greek coalition soldiers carrying memory crystals into the wooden horse, white-robed people piercing the temples of civilians with silver needles. The clearest was a memory she had never seen before. Her mother was tied to the altar, and Athena's mechanical arm was taking something out of her chest. Her mother's gaze passed through time and space and landed directly on Cassandra's face, as if saying a silent word. No! The mechanical jaw of the priest suddenly fell off, revealing the wriggling memory tentacles inside. The memory core can't be broken. The star chart will lose its balance. The entire cellar began to shake. The cuneiform characters on the wooden horse glowed red and formed a complete star chart on the ground. Cassandra saw a rotating black hole in the center of the star chart, and the surrounding stars were being slowly swallowed by it. That was the location of Atlantis, the location of Troy, and the final destination of all civilizations targeted by the church. The old man suddenly pounced on the nearest priest, digging his stumps into the opponent's eye socket. Run! His roar was interrupted by the dull sound of the scepter piercing his body. There's a secret passage under the horse's belly. Go to Crete. Find the labyrinth. When Cassandra got into the hidden door under the horse's belly, she heard the crackling sound of torches falling to the ground. The fragments of the memory crystal were burning, releasing a strange blue flame that licked the white robes of the priests. They twisted in the flames, and their silver armor melted into liquid metal, revealing the intertwined memory threads inside. On each thread, there were miniature human faces, their mouths open but making no sound. It was pitch black in the secret passage. Cassandra could only move forward, guided by the star chart mark on her palm. Viscous liquid seeped from the rock walls, sticking to her hands like half-dried blood, exuding the smell of the burned memory crystal. When she counted to the 372nd step, a faint light appeared ahead, and the humid sea breeze mixed with a salty smell rushed in. The exit was hidden among a cluster of reefs. The moonlight paved a silver path on the sea. Cassandra looked back. The direction of Sparta City was ablaze. The kill fire of the pottery workshop was probably also ignited, licking the darkness in the night sky. She stuffed the fragments of the pottery shard into the crevice of the reef and covered it with sand. The harpist's secret had been passed on, and the old man's sacrifice couldn't be in vain. There was a small fishing boat floating on the sea. The sardines in the fishing net glistened silver in the moonlight. The fisherman was a blind teenager, but his ears were extremely sensitive, able to hear the breathing of a dolphin 100 meters away. Going to Crete? He hummed a strange tune as he untied the mooring rope. The melody was astonishingly similar to the Ballad of Atlantis in Cassandra's memory. My grandfather said, "The labyrinth there eats memories, and those who enter forget what they're looking for." Cassandra leaned against the ship's railing, watching the fire in Sparta gradually shrink. The star chart mark on her palm was still hot, like an uncooling branding iron. She didn't know what was in the labyrinth on Crete, whether those men in white robes were still chasing her, or if her younger brother's memories were really imprisoned in the incubation chamber. But she knew she had to keep going, just like those Atlanteans she saw in the memory crystal, like the harpist, like the lame old man. Resistance might fail, but forgetting was the real death. The teenager suddenly stopped humming and listened intently. Strange, he pointed to the distant sea. Today, the waves are saying the star chart is the key. Before, they only told stories about fish schools. Cassandra looked in the direction the teenager pointed. The waves in the moonlight were undulating in a certain pattern. The arrangement of the wave crests and troughs exactly formed the shape of a star chart. She suddenly remembered her mother's lip movement before she died. At that time, she thought her mother was saying survive, but now she realized it was the pronunciation of Dreamweaver in the Atlantean language. The fishing boat rose and fell in the waves like a fragile leaf. Cassandra put the bronze dagger back on her waist and took out the small wooden carved horse given by her younger brother. The belly of the wooden horse was empty, and half a dried laurel leaf was hidden inside, exuding a faint fragrance. She put the leaf in her mouth, and the bitter taste spread on her tongue, making all her memories extremely clear. The olive trees of Troy, her mother's silver bracelet, Athena's cracked silver armor, and those faces that dissipated in the firelight. When the first ray of dawn appeared on the sea level, Cassandra saw the outline of Crete. The mountainous center of the island was shrouded in clouds and mist, and the outline of the labyrinth could be vaguely identified, like a huge snail lying on the earth. She knew that the next secret was hidden there, perhaps about the origin of the star chart, perhaps about the truth of the Dreamweaver, perhaps just another golden cage waiting to be broken. But that didn't matter anymore. What mattered was that she was moving towards it, carrying all the unstolen memories, like a spark that refused to be extinguished, drawing her own trajectory under the tampered star chart. This episode ends here. The next episode will be even more exciting. Come subscribe.